Hi, I'm Isabel, and today I wanted to talk about 5 tips that I would suggest if you want to be more creative. So, the first one is to make time to practice creativity. And I think about this similar is a way an athlete might improve on their sport is they have to actually spend time practicing their sport. If they want to run a marathon or compete at the Olympics, they must practice their sport consistently, which is actually another point later. Hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. um, but an athlete must practice their sport in order to get better at it. So if being more creative or practicing creativity more, having more creative flow and mental ability is something you want, I would highly recommend making time to practice creativity. Whether it's 5 minutes a day, whether it's an hour a day, whether it's maybe a weekly goal, make time to practice it. And that's when you'll really start getting better at it. That's for sure what I've noticed in myself is the more time I spend practicing creativity, I find myself being more creative and having more ideas and not hitting a block as often. The second thing I would say is to let go of perfectionism. I know that's so much easier said than done, but perfectionism really destroys creativity. If you're trying to be perfect, there is no room to be creative. Being creative is coming up with unique ideas, solutions, artworks, representations. The list can go on, but it's the emphasis on the unique. Unique isn't always perfect. In fact, it rarely is. And so there's a huge amount of pressure that really stifles creativity. If you let perfectionism rule, you're going to have a harder time being creative. So just recognize perfectionism's damagingness, is that a word? Harm on your creativity. And being aware of it can help you fight back from it a little bit. I do have a video on my channel about perfectionism and using your sketchbook as a way to fight perfectionism. You should totally check it out. Links in the description. But yes, that's the second thing I would suggest to improve your creativity is let go of perfectionism. The third thing I would suggest is try different types of creativity, or you could even say mediums of creativity. The reason I suggest this is because when you try something new, you're typically a little more gracious with yourself, as in, oh yeah, I've never done this before. It's okay if I mess up. It's my first time. Sometimes we're not, sometimes we're still bad at that, but it's typically a little easier to fight perfectionism on something we've never done before. Additionally, when you try something new, your brain kicks into this brand new learning experience. I don't know if you've experienced that feeling. I have a lot. I love learning. So whenever I start to learn something totally brand new, it's like I've just walked into this brand new store for the first time. Maybe a toy store, a candy store as a kid. The very first time a kid ever walks into one. Just the shock, the adventure, oh, I want to explore everything. I want to learn about it. There's no pressure in that feeling. And it, for me at least, and hopefully for you as well, for me, it helps me tap into this childlike thought process that's really vital to creativity. Whenever I try a new medium or a new type of creativity, maybe it's sewing or making the cute designs on sourdough bread, something totally new. It makes you think in a different way. And then when you come back to your preferred method of creativity, you can actually have learned from that. And the way you, like, take the sourdough bread, for example. My mom does sourdough bread. A couple times she's had me cut it for her. and I tried to do a flower. I paint flowers all the time, as you can see behind me. But using a little knife to cut into bread dough is a very different feel than paint on a canvas or a pencil on paper. And in doing that, it helps me really think down if I'm going to change a flower into just a very few amount of lines, how will I do that? So then when I came back to my own regular type of creativity, traditional art, I was able to boil down the complexity of a flower a little more simply, even just mentally. I'm not sure it even transferred any difference on the paper, but it helped me mentally think about the construction of a flower better from the other type of creativity that I tried. So that's something I would strongly suggest is try other types of creativity. Try new mediums, try totally different things. Like if you're a painter, try sewing. If you're a bread maker, try paint, like instead of cutting your bread, try painting your bread. I don't know. I've seen videos of people doing that. Um but try something new. When you try something new, it's exciting. It's it's fresh. It's refreshing, and there's space for mistakes, and that's an area where creativity really can be strong. The fourth thing I would say for improving your creativity or being more creative would be to recognize the difference between motivation and consistency. Now, I've seen a lot of people talk about this and talk about how motivation comes and goes. It's maybe it can look like 2 hours of work every month and nothing the rest of the month. Whereas consistency might be 10 minutes a day, but at the end of the month, you have a lot of minutes, you have a lot of time behind it that's more consistently done. So, like back to the sports example, somebody who's training for a marathon, they're not going to just run for 3 hours straight the week before their marathon. They're going to practice a little bit every day and increase it where they can and train their body. So, creativity is kind of like a muscle you have to train, in my opinion. If you practice it consistently, it'll get stronger. Um, so with motivation, you can't just rely on motivation to train. It's great when you have motivation. Motivation is not a bad guy. It can be very helpful, but motivation is not consistent. There's days when I am exhausted. I am so tired. I've got nothing in me. And motivation says I'm just going to take off the rest of the week. But my commitment to consistency, to my goals, to my dreams says, no, I may need to take a break today, but I'm going to do more tomorrow. What can I do even if I'm tired? How can I still move towards my goals? How can I still practice creativity even if I'm having maybe a roadblock? Maybe I'm sick or something like that. So there's a big difference between motivation and consistency. If you really want to be more creative and have more creative, I'm not sure the term creative resource to pull from, maybe that's the best way to say it, then you have to be consistent in your creative practice, whether you're motivated or not. And more so, especially when you're not motivated. The last tip I would say for improving your creativity, increasing it, would be to make it fun. If you have hit a point where whatever your typical medium is or form of creativity is, let's just say it's charcoal drawing and that's your thing. And if you get to a point where it feels like such a chore, it's so like, ugh, I don't want to do it. You're trudging your feet, you're dragging your feet, you're trying to trudge through it. I would suggest don't give up on it. Don't quit ever doing it. Try something different. Try a way to make it fun and come back at it. Maybe you change your subject matter. Maybe you research a new charcoal drawing technique and Try something totally new in your medium. Do whatever you can to make it fun if it's not fun anymore. One thing that I did, just as an example for this, is a few weeks ago, I was hanging out with a friend and she really wanted to go to this place where you paint pottery. And I was like, okay, cool. I mean, that sounds fun. I didn't plan for it at all. I didn't have a single clue what I was walking into. And it was so much fun. It was being creative. I got to paint. I have it somewhere. I should have brought it over to show you, but I forgot about it. I got to paint flowers on a coffee mug using this chalky like paint and these really horrible Walmart type paintbrushes that I'm not used to. I'm used to much higher quality, but it was so much fun. It was such a fun change from my normal way of painting that it felt so creatively refreshing. So, if there's anything you can do, whether it's more specific, like for a specific medium, you need to make it more fun, or if it's more general, like just for any of your creative practice, you need something more fun in it, I would strongly suggest make it fun. And it could be something simple. You don't have to go paint pottery somewhere, you don't have to learn a whole new technique. You could just make your favorite cup of tea whenever you sit down to paint, or find a movie you really want to watch and play it only when you are creating art, or find a really good audiobook, something to make it fun if it's feeling a little bit more like a chore, and that consistency will help pull it out of the choreness. Or you might find you need to try something totally different. Maybe charcoal is not your medium, just as an example. Maybe you try to make it fun and you switch to watercolors and you find that is your medium that you love. That is the one that speaks to you and flows the best. My whole point here is creativity, practicing creativity should be fun. And if it's not, there's things we can do to make it fun again. Especially if you are like me trying to make your art into a business, it becomes work a little bit. So, prioritizing our creativity is important. And I hope these 5 things are helpful to you. They are things that have been helpful to me, things that I am working to utilize as needed. And yeah, these are some of the things I've learned. So let me know, what are some things that you do to improve your creativity, and especially whenever you hit a creative block. Yeah. Thanks for your time. Have a good day. Bye.